All right, all right, all right. Welcome in Toilets to Titles. This is episode number 155, and this is NFL Draft 2023 mock draft extravaganza number 2. And we are ready to rock and roll. We've been working on this since the last one, around episode 150. We came in here, same crew. We dominated the draft. We're coming back in. We got some news. Some things have changed. Some players have moved up. Some players have eliminated themselves from the draft by announcing they're going back, like Fashanu from Penn State University. So he ain't going in the top 10 now. But I am joined by some guests, some members of Toilets to Title. So I'm going to introduce the T2T fellas first, and then I'll introduce the guests, and then we will get rolling. First time mocking with us this year, it's Jaord Gray at Jaord Gray on the Twitter. Jaord, what's cooking?
What's up, guys? I appreciate you, as always.
Boomer's in the house. Hell yeah. And then Joe, man, Joe's been speaking too much to my stylist, man, because I think my stylist recommended that hat. That's at Joe J_Clark on the Twitter. Joe is cooking.
Hey, I found your hat maker, man. I know your secrets. They're out. They're out.
It's a little elf. I just leave some fabric on the table, and a little elf comes out in the middle of the night, makes
these special hats. But I am glad to be back for the second time drafting with a bunch of you guys, and really looking forward to it. So, looking forward to a good time.
Man, all right, excellent. And then we also got Shane at Shane P. Hallam on the Twitter from Draft Countdown. Shane, how we doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure drafting with these smart folks right here. So thanks for having me.
Good, man. How are you doing? How are things going over at draftcountdown.com?
Doing good. We're doing good. Myself and Brian below me here. We're running things. Podcast is going well. Just getting ready for the boom here once the NFL season's over.
Man, yeah, I'm already seeing like analysts. Dane Brugler just dropped his mock draft, and the guys from the Dallas Cowboys website, they're already talking about the draft. So it's almost, man, even though like we're getting into the thick of the season, it's the draft just kind of starts early and earlier every season. But the other half of draftcountdown.com, Brian at Deep Fried Draft. Brian, how we doing, man?
Hey, man, it's doing great. Glad to be back with you guys for mock draft number 2. For me, being in Mobile, I'm knee deep in Senior Bowl season right now, man. So I'm getting ready.
Yeah. I just reached out to staff at the Senior Bowl. I've been kind of poking them, trying to get the credentials for us. And she told me this morning that I think the credentials opened on the 9th. You could start applying for them. So we got an official date. So if you're interested in going to the Senior Bowl, you check it out December 9th, and you could start applying. So hopefully we'll all bump into each other down there. Maybe we'll do one of these mock drafts live in person, like that would be a task, but I'm sure it'd be very fun to do. All right. Campus to Canton, Felix Sharpe at Sharpe Review on the Twitter. Sharpe, what's happening?
I appreciate you all having me back. My Detroit Lions, the higher pick is now the Rams pick, which is crazy to me. I think we did great with the last draft, but this one's going to be a little bit tougher because, the Lions are playing a little bit better. So thank you for having me back.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for coming. All right, KT, one half of at the CFB Nation. I know Nino's going to be hopping in here shortly. KT, how we doing?
Hey, I'm feeling fantastic. Just thankful for the opportunity to be able to network with you all. I've been wanting to do something with Boomer for the longest, so I'm happy to be able to do that. We had Brian on the show not too long ago. We talked about some South Carolina football. His Will Levis is still in my mind. His Will Levis comp is still in my mind. Can't wait to work with Shane. But like I said, happy to be here.
Excellent. We're fired up to have you back. Then we got Moon Vibes, the mastermind behind Real One's production. What's happening, Moon?
Yo, I'm feeling great, man. I'm happy to be back. Shout out to Boomer. I see Brian on CFB Nation, Joe. I feel like I run into y'all, see y'all work all the time. So I'm happy and excited for part 2 of this. And hopefully it feels like we really are getting closer. And it kind of hurts that CFB season is like really winding down, but these are the fun parts. So I'm looking forward to it.
Man, it is winding down, but like it's just a revolving door, right?
Yeah,
like it's finding the perks of the downtime, like the in between. Like I always said, like on Toilets to Titles, like since we started, my most optimistic time is the off season, and it might be because I'm a realist, and which sometimes borderlines pessimist, and that's something I need to work on. But I understand that about myself. So the off season is usually my season of optimism. Like I can be more butterflies and rainbows then. So it does stink, but I know there's something good on the other end of it, right? So we got that to look forward to. We got something good right here. I'm happy to have all you back. Like this last episode was excellent. This mock draft. So if you want to check out the last one, it was episode 150. Check it out on the YouTube. Go to toiletstitles.com, and the actual draft is on there. Just who we picked and when we picked them. We're going to do the same thing with this episode. We're going to turn into an article, throw it up on there. But however you're watching at home, before we get this thing going, I don't want to waste anybody's time. We're doing a donation to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We decided we were going to do it on the last day of November. We were at 829 subscribers on YouTube, and we're going to donate $2 for every subscriber we get. So by Christmas Day, I think we're up like 4 or 5 subscribers now. It's been a day, so hopefully you like the content. It's easy to click that subscribe button, help us, help somebody out, and it's just try to do a little something good, and while also promoting the channel. So if you want to do that, it's greatly appreciated. And now, gentlemen, the draft has started, and the Houston Texans are on the clock. Joe Clark, man, you better put that Texans cap on and get ready to draft. And he's muted. Man, the Texans are dropping the ball with the muted already.
Well, you know what? Texans are listen, they're taking a quarterback, and I always get scared as a general manager when it comes to quarterbacks. Quarterbacks scare me to death. And to be honest with you, I'm really uncertain myself about I've got a big 3 quarterbacks in this class. Hey, I want to give an honorable mention to Davis Mills, who held down the fort for the Houston Texans. Not much is expected from him. Not that he was great or anything, but I think he gave more than people were expecting. But it's time to move on from the Davis Mills experiment. Get ourselves a quarterback. A real quarterback. And I get scared myself I usually get scared by Ohio State quarterbacks, but I got to say Justin Fields is making me feel really good. What he's doing with the Chicago Bears, I'm loving him. The guy's looking awesome. So he's making me feel really secure in securing CJ Stroud for the Houston Texans as the #1 overall pick.
All right, quarterback out of Ohio State, CJ Stroud, and it looks like there's like somebody's on the phone right now.
Hey, a type anonymously Lee talking about Carolina requested trade. Turns in our first.
Yeah, so it looks like so Jared, full disclosure, you're speaking for the Carolina Panthers. So, oh boy, the man of the hour dropped in, Nino at Nino Brown _T2T. We had to put a pause on the thing, man. Coming in last minute. How we doing?
Floating. I'm good. I just got off the interview with Tajay Spears. Epic. It was epic.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Right on time. Jared's going to plead his case for the Carolina Panthers.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. We can hear you. Jared's going to plead his case for the Panthers real quick to Shane and the Chicago Bears. Then we're going to move on.
All right. Shane, I'm calling as the GM for the Carolina Panthers. I'm going to give you Brian Burns, our first to move back in the 5th, right? We've already had a request for 2 first-rounders from another team, trying to get him. He's a solid, really good defensive end. I know who you're looking at, and we're not drafting him. So we need to move up before somebody in your division tries to take over. So help me help you and let us move up. Give me your first for Brian Burns and our first, and a conditional 3rd rounder.
Oh, look! It's a strong deal. Unfortunately, if we move back from #2 as the Chicago Bears down to 5, where Carolina's sitting, not only we lose both our targets, we basically have 2 targets as the Bears. Moving down to 5 almost guarantees we're not going to get either of them. Getting Brian Burns, a great player. But for him to come here, we're going to have to pay him a whole heck of a lot of money on a contract extension. So Chicago, rebuilding this defense, we're going to go young here and reject your trade offer and make the #2 pick.
And that #2 selection is?
It's actually a choice here at #2 for the Bears, because I think there are 2 elite defensive players in this draft. Will Anderson, the edge rusher from Alabama, as well as Jalen Carter, the defensive lineman from Georgia, who could be a big help in the stop and the run, which the Bears need. But ultimately, you take the pass rusher. It's more important. 4 years younger than Brian Burns. We'll take Will Anderson, linebacker out of Alabama, to be the next Khalil Mack for the Chicago Bears and help rebuild this defense to be an elite unit with Justin Fields leading the offense.
Bryce Young. Bryce Young. We're taking Bryce Young.
Wait.
We've run up
The Detroit Lions are on the clock.
We're off the clock. I mean, this is a team that's ready-made for a quarterback. We've turned in the card already. It took no time whatsoever. I think that he is the number one quarterback in this class. The thing that's going to be interesting is how does he play in structure, because that Alabama offensive line hasn't been as dominant of a unit in previous seasons, so he has had to do a lot of scrambling. He's really not going to have to do that with this Detroit Lions offensive line. He will be able to play from the pocket. Can he do it? I think he can. He's got Jamison Williams. He's got DJ Chark, and he's got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Those wide receivers offer a versatility or a diversification of skill sets, which you want to have in your wide receiver core. And obviously, Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift in the backfield. This is an offense ready-made to be explosive. Had Bryce Young gone at number 2 for some reason, which they wouldn't, we would have taken Jalen Carter here to shore up, or Will Anderson. Excuse me, we would have taken Will Anderson, one of the defensive line, to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. So, but this is a no-brainer, and if the draft broke this way, I'd be very excited about it.
All right, Detroit Lions, man, they ran up there. Well, Moon. Oh, Joe, go ahead. What do we got there?
Quick question, if you guys don't mind. We got 9 people on the panel here right now. I'm really curious. I'm not really sure in my own mind where I have C.J. Stroud versus Bryce Young. To me, those are the top 2. I like Levis a lot. I think he's legit, right up there with those 2, but just one step behind those 2. Just between Stroud and Bryce Young, can I get a vote on who favors Stroud more and who favors Bryce Young more? Raise hand for Stroud. Yeah, that's where I am. But
I
it's
guess
like
it'll depend on the scheme, but
yeah. And Bryce Young.
I mean, I would take Bryce Young number 1. However, I would say that it's not a fair comparison because they're 2 completely different games. It's like, would you rather prefer Jerry Rice or Randy Moss? Well, it kind of
Dan Campbell prefer
what it is that you want. I think that he wouldn't have an issue with either of them. But it's like the difference between these 2. I think the comparison for C.J. Stroud might be like Tom Brady or the old school quarterbacks, Phillip Rivers, and the comparison for Bryce Young, in my opinion, is Kyler Murray. Is Kyler Murray for Bryce Young? So it's apples and oranges, but they're 2 very, very good players.
Yeah,
man. The Seahawks fans, I think they're getting a little rowdy. The 12s are starting to throw stuff at the screen, especially at your screen, Joe, because they know that Moon's ready to make his pick. So Moon, you're on the clock. Go ahead.
All right. So Geno Smith is on a 1-year deal, $3.5 million. I, as the GM, have the ability to offer him a contract extension, or do I just let him walk, test free agency? My personal opinion, he's created value across the league. And I think that he's going to test free agency. Now, the quarterbacks is already gone that I want to take between CJ and Bryce. The top edge is gone. So it just feels like this falls right into my lap based on what it is that we already are. Seattle Seahawks, points per game this season, 4th in the league. Yards per play, 4th in the league. Touchdowns per game, 7th in the league. They also are number 1 in points per play in the league. Their defense has its own desires that needs to be. Opposing touchdowns per game for their defense, 29th in the league. We also have 30th in the league in opponents' yards per game. Their rushing defense is what, is abysmal. They are 28th in the league in opponent rushing touchdowns per game. They are opponent rushing yards per game, 27th. Opponent rush play percentage, like how often teams are running the ball against Seattle. I think the formula is just run the ball. It's kind of similar to the team that was above us, the Chicago Bears, and how they couldn't stop the run. So enter in my guy, who I feel like is the best player in the draft. And when he is locked in, I know I could talk about like stats and everything like that, but from a pressure perspective, I think he can get pressure. I think he has a brilliant marriage between like his hands and his feet. Where I want to see him have the highs in the marriage is when it comes to pass rush. Like that's what we already know that he is. Like
who is this now?
This is Jalen Carter for the University of Georgia, defensive tackle. He feels a need immediately. I think he's a game wrecker and a game breaker. More evidence than that, just look at the Tennessee game. So, like, I look at this plugging in a player that's an ultimate 3 technique that can come into this defense. If you want to play him in a 5, you can as well. I think, but naturally, he's like who you would want to fall in love with as a 3 technique. I'm happy that he fell to me. I feel like he comes in and helps us with our rush defense automatically. And because we pick later in the draft, maybe we can pair him with another defensive player.
All right. I like it. Jalen Carter, there he goes. All right. Now, Jaord and the Panthers, they've had some time to sit. They made some offers. They're going to be aggressive. Did the board fall to them?
No, because I actually don't love the player that Nino loves. So I'm not a Will Levis guy. I don't believe they are either. They compare him too much to what they already had in Sam Darnold in their draft grade of Sam Darnold. So in this aspect, we need somebody to take some pressure off of DJ Moore. And to do that, we need to grab Quentin Johnson.
Ooh, early. I like it. Quentin Johnson, wide receiver. Tell us about him, man. Tell us about Quentin Johnson.
Well,
real
I
quick.
mean, he's a monster, right? I mean, TCU, he's their main reason. He's 6'4", 220 pounds. They say he's 215. He ain't 215. That dude's 220, 225. Got a good motor, good speed. You can't out jump him. He's played some really good corners in the Big 12 and embarrassed all of them. So I don't see, and you're going to see it even more in the playoffs, I think, no matter who they play. Hopefully we get to see a Michigan TCU game because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think it's still not going to matter. I think he's still going to boss people. I mean, he's what, you want out of a big, strong, fast wide receiver. And that's what you're getting out of him. I mean, I don't see how you can't pass up on him later because you don't want Will Levis over CJ Stroud. So in that aspect, or Bryce Young. So in that aspect, because they spent so much last year moving up on a quarterback that really isn't that great anyway, they're going to get what they get, and they're going to have to go after a playmaker that helps their offense because their offense is anemic. So Quentin Johnson's the guy. As early as it is, and I get it, it's still the right move.
Oh, I had him at 8. I have 2 options at 8. I also have 2 options at 11, and he was option number 1 for 8. And I was like, if I don't take him at 8, I might take him at 11. So, man, at 5, I like it. I dig it. All right, Nino, Philadelphia Eagles on the clock. Who we taking?
I can tell you this one. You're on mute.
You're muted. You're muted, kid.
You're on mute.
It won't be Bijan. Don't worry. I don't want Moon to flip out and screen go bananas.
He's from Georgia.
Listen, I've watched them. Yeah. They need 2 things, in my opinion. I do need a running back, but, Miles has done more things this year than I thought he could do. They need an edge because Brandon Graham and Robert Quinn are agent vets. Josh Sweat is okay, but he's nothing to write home about. Young Ed Rusher can help Reddick, White, and Edwards eat at the second level. But they also need a cornerback. But there's a lot of cornerbacks in this draft, and as Brian will tell you, there's a lot that are like 1A, 1B, 1C. So I'm going to go with the edge guy.
Oh.
And I'm going to go with Nolan Smith out of Georgia because I feel like him paced on that side, he could eat and instantly open up holes for those linebackers.
All right, so there's Nolan Smith. We got 2.
It's
Georgia's
not fair.
dominating the draft
It's
right
not
now.
fair that Philadelphia is as good as they are.
It's
They're
just
about to have
rich.
the
Just
number
keep
six.
getting
It's just
richer.
It's not fair.
Well, at least they're taking another Georgia linebacker with injuries. That seems to be just their way, I guess.
That was my guess. My thing. Are we not concerned with the injury there at 6?
Yeah,
I'll
torn
be honest,
pectoral
I'm
muscle
really
is.
surprised you- Like, I'll tell you who I'm going to, in a little bit, I'll tell you who I thought you were going to go after, but that's not who I expected.
But I could understand a risky pick from a team that has multiple firsts. They're talented. Like, I think if you're going to make a luxury pick, that's the team that's going to make a luxury pick.
I
No?
mean,
They got talented vets up front.
Yeah.
I really thought you put Ringo across from Slay. So
I thought he was going Gonzo. When he started talking corner.
You got both of them wrong. He's not even my number one. Neither one of those are my number one.
I know Porter's number one.
And that's
he'll
be there at the end.
Fans. Now the Cardinals fans are throwing stuff at the screen. All right, they're on the clock. Moon's ready to pick. Go ahead, my guy.
This one was very, very tough for me because you just talked about it earlier. I was watching CFB Nation and everything with Brian, Nino, KT, and we was talking about the South Carolina game and Cam Smith and his performance against the Volunteers and everything, and what he's just been doing all season long. If you wanted to say like who is your 1A, 1B corners and everything, I think I can open up the question to y'all. Like, I mean, we would say Cam and Keely Ringo would be the two guys I'm having a debate over. You got Joey Porter in there too? Okay, so
yes,
3. At that position, matching them with Byron Murphy, like that would feel pretty fire because Keely Ringo, for me, 4-3 speed, press man-to-man corner, I can like see them doing that. But I think I'm gonna go in a different direction because I do think corner is deeper, and I want to be able to get like dominance. I'm gonna get the former number 1 player in the nation when he came out of Damascus High School. I'm going Brian Breesy with this pick for the Arizona Cardinals, and I think that his frame 6'5", 305, his athleticism and being young, being able to grow into his frame. I had him as my number 3 D lineman in the draft. So when I look at it and I have to debate like whether I want to take Miles Murphy or Breesy, whatever, and Nino gonna get on me talking about Miles Murphy, but Brian Breesy just feels like a perfect fit that despite whatever they do with their coaching staff, management, whatever, I think can come in and work with any new coach, any regime. So that's the pick for the Arizona Cardinals.
All right, so Brian Breesy's off the board. I'm on the clock for the Green Bay Packers. Last time I took Fashanu in the first round. I think I picked for the Packers as well. I'm not sure, or maybe it was the Jaguars. Somebody I took an offensive lineman. I'm going offensive lineman again. I was considering Quentin Johnson, but he was off the board at 5. So this made my decision for me. I'm going with Skoronski, offensive tackle with offensive guard, flexibility, out of Northwestern. I read somewhere, actually, I was reading Dane Brugler's mock, and he didn't have Skoronski go to the Packers, but he did mention Skoronski's grandfather played for the Green Bay Packers, won a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. So there's some lineage there. 2021, he was all Big Ten first team, which I assume he will be again. 6'2", he's a little bit on the lighter side, 294 pounds. I mean, which is crazy to say that's light, but I mean, he can grow into that frame. He can move. Bakhtiari, he's 31 years old. He hasn't played a full season since 2019. Who knows what they're going to do with Aaron Rodgers? Who knows if they're going to try to usher in the Jordan Love era? If you want to protect Rodgers, if you're going to keep him around, get him a guy who can protect him. If you want to let him go and bring in a new quarterback and try to help him develop, bring in a guy who can protect him. And Skoronski will start right away. Not sure if it's going to be guard. Not sure if it's going to be tackle. Kind of look like Rashawn Slater, when he was coming out at, what was that? Was that Kansas? Or he came out of Northwestern too, right? So, I think they're going to kind of hope for the same situation right there, picking him at number 7. And I mean, that's the money position, offensive tackle. So I'm going with Skoronski there. And then Felix, you were on the clock for the Las Vegas Raiders.
And Skoronski sounds like an old school Packers name, so that's a good pick.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It's hard to pick someone here when I have my team, the team that I love, picking for the Detroit Lions, following this pick. Like, I don't want to take someone that I want my Lions to get. So I think I'm going to go with the chalk here. Is this player still available? He is. I'm going to take Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Oregon, 6'2", lanky frame. I mean, I think that's really what it seems like. All the guys that used to play wide receiver back in the 90s are now playing cornerback. And so I'm going to go with Christian Gonzalez, 4 interceptions on the season. and we will take him here for the Raiders.
All right, another money position. We got edges going off the board. We got linemen. We got quarterbacks, wide receivers. All right, Joe Clark on the clock again for the Houston Texans.
Okay, Houston. All right, so for my Houston Texans, I got them a. I'm sorry, was someone else talking or? Okay, I thought I heard something there. Houston Texans. So I started off getting the Houston Texans a new quarterback. It's a new era down in Houston, and I firmly believe when you've got a young quarterback and you don't already have all that much talent around him, you need to support him with offensive line or weapons. And there are two players that are definitely sticking out on the board for me that I really like a lot. I mean, there's quite a few. But John, just 2 picks before, took the offensive lineman. I knew he wasn't going to make it past John. I knew John loves Skoronski. I knew he wasn't making there. But I am thinking another offensive tackle. Well, however, we do have a good left tackle in Larry Tunsil, and we do need some wide receiver help. So I'm going to get C.J. Stroud, some wide receiver help, and I'm going to draft Jordan Addison.
All right. Jordan Addison off the board. All right. So now I'm back on the clock, this time for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is another team that I was considering wide receiver for. There's a few guys I like. I'm not going to say their names because I picked for Dallas at 27. And I'm hoping somebody falls to them a little bit later on. And I'm actually, I'm going with Brian Branch down in Jacksonville. All right, he's a defensive back. This dude is super versatile. I think coaches are going to love him. I love Joe. Remembers Joe? We were talking draft last year. Who did I love? Daxton Hill. I loved Daxton Hill. I loved his position flex. I think Brian Branch is even more versatile. Brian Branch can do a little bit of everything. And you look at that defensive backfield. They already got Andre Sisco. They got Andrew Wingard. They got Tyson Campbell. And then they just got dudes everywhere. All right. This guy, he can come in, he can play in the slot, he can play deep, he can play in the box, he can play outside. This is an alpha who's gonna they have the dogs around him where now you bring this guy into that defensive backfield and you can position him wherever you want. You can just let him eliminate somebody or roam free, or you will have so much freedom as a defensive coordinator when you add this guy to that position group. And I think the arrow's trending upwards with Trevor Lawrence. They could use a wide receiver, because, good is the enemy of great, right? Like I say that because Christian Kirk's good. Zay Jones is good. I wouldn't say they have a great wide receiver right now, but I'm okay with good right now. We could go in another direction. We could try to get a great wide receiver, but they're okay. Maybe we can get one in the second round for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, oh yeah, you do got Calvin Ridley. So there's that too. And we got Travis Etienne, So I think you bring in Brian Branch, and he's just that defense just gets a lot more versatile. Coming out of Alabama, there's pedigree there, so I like it.
I like good versatile safeties that add so much to modern defense. And Jacksonville's accumulating I like the defensive side of the ball on Jacksonville. Really like the talent they're getting over there.
All right, well, Shane, you had to wait long enough for the Pittsburgh Steelers, my friend. Go ahead.
The Steelers, the board's falling pretty well, I think, for them. I think there's a lot of different options they can go. I think ultimately, you can build on the defensive side of the ball, add another pass rusher next to TJ Watt. Miles Murphy from Clemson still there. You can add a corner and go with the legacy Joey Porter Jr. for the Steelers. But you drafted Kenny Pickett last year, and he's had his bumps and bruises, but played well. Ultimately, kind of what Joe was talking about, when you draft a quarterback, you have to build the team around him. And Dan Moore, the left tackle, really has to go for the Steelers. And drafting a left tackle, I think he becomes a high priority. So I'm going to take Paris Johnson Jr., the offensive tackle from The Ohio State University. You get a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, big, mover, athletic, strong, not maybe the perfect play-to-play mental mistakes happen with him, but I think for the Steelers, you're going to get an upgrade at that left tackle position, fixable issues. You have a huge upside here with Paris Johnson to protect the blind side of Kenny Pickett.
Boom. All right, protect that young quarterback. Felix, you're back on the clock again for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, this is tough because Shane's talking about protecting the quarterback. I need to protect my linebackers, and I just don't know that there is a defensive tackle on the board right now that I could take at this value to, protect my LBs, I really want to do that. I think that this could potentially be a spot to trade down for the Detroit Lions and pick up maybe a future pick. I was also thinking about Drew Sanders. Drew Sanders transfer from Arkansas or from Alabama to Arkansas, is having a really excellent season. He was I think the number one athlete in his class. But I think the chalk pick and the value pick right here would be the aforementioned Joey Porter, who's declared for the draft. So give me some of that Steelers blood. Give me this long, lanky playmaker. This is who I did not pick earlier when I had the Raiders take Christian Gonzalez. So I'm going to take Joey Porter Jr. here. And I think I may have drafted him last time too. I don't remember, but glad to get him here at 13.
Dan Campbell pick right there. All over that one. He's going to love Joey Porter.
Dog.
All right. Oh, there goes the Jaord. All right. The Indianapolis Colts are on the clock. Go ahead.
So I just think at this point, they're not happy with Ryan. They're not happy with, what they got at quarterback right now. And he's fallen far enough for us at 14. So Will Levis comes off the board from Kentucky.
Good pick.
That they feel like that he's the better position for them right now. He's no Andrew Luck, but that's what we got right now, and that's what we're going to take.
Is it a crazy question? I know there's college crazy people in here, and let's try not to have recency bias. Too much recency bias. Sam Ellinger at Texas. Statistically, or rather like careers, whose college career? Who had a better college career, Sam Ellinger or Will Levis?
Oh, Ellinger for sure. I mean, but you got to see what's around him too.
Right. Right.
I mean, he played longer. He's in a much better offense. I mean, for him,
Was it easier to tell though that he wasn't NFL ready out the gate? Who's more NFL ready coming out of college?
Oh, Levis is for sure.
Yeah.
Levis has a much better arm. He's not real stiff. Ellinger had to lose 25 pounds. So, and a lot of people don't know that. He lost a lot of weight, his rookie year to get down to quarterback weight instead of, tight end weight is what he really was because he ran the ball a lot at Texas. And
I just asked that because it's the Colts,
Levis, Ellinger was doing Tybo.
Yeah,
I will tell you this, though. I really think Spencer Rattler's climbing the star train.
Yeah. Ooh, all right. Wait, the Falcons are running up to the board. Brian on the clock. Atlanta Falcons making their pick. Go ahead, my guy.
Haven't Colts fans suffered enough that you got to bring in Paxton Lynch 2.0 to their team there? It's just sad. We don't need to see that. But, yeah, I've run the card up here.
Come on, Brian.
I've run the card up here. I feel like the Falcons could go edge here, but I think they like their young guys with Ebiketie, D'Angelo Malone, so I think they stick that out. They can shore up the other side of A.J. Terrell here with this pick, so I'm going to give them the long, lean corner there from Georgia. Give me Keely Ringo. Doesn't have to travel far there. So good for Atlanta here. And different style
Over
here.
your boy?
Different style here. So that's why I go with Atlanta and give them Ringo.
Right on. All right.
Save on moving expenses as well. Got to save that money.
All right, Moon, you're back on the clock for the 12s, man. The Seahawks. Let's go.
I didn't know it was going to work out like that, Brian, but thank you. You can take Keely, and I'll take Cam Smith for the Seattle Seahawks. I'm just going to turn in the card. I think that he can be versatile within the defense. They already got Woolen already last year. They have speed. I think he comes in and not only – I think he can be a Pete Carroll guy. Because there's still question marks for me on the edge. I'd rather fix the front end of my defense with Jalen Carter and then pair something in the back end that can work together, the marriage and everything, with Cam Smith from South Carolina.
All right, Cam Smith, South Carolina. off the board. All right, Brian, you're back on the clock for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, this is another one of those deals where I feel like they could go a great number of ways. I'm not enamored with what's left at the offensive line position here for the Chargers. I think they could address that spot here. I do think they need to look at wide receiver at some point early on. Keenan Allen's been battling injuries. What now? It seems like 3 years
slow,
every year.
Man, he looks so
every
slow
year. I
this
draft
past
him in
week.
fantasy, and he gets hurt for like half the season. So I feel like we're going to add a receiver here, and we're going to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio. I'm sorry, Shane, the Ohio State University.
Thank you.
Another guy who has been injured this season, but the talent is is too much to have lasted to the 17th pick.
All right, there he goes. JSN off the board from the Ohio State. Look at all these corners that have gone early, man. We got before that, we just had 3 corners in the last 5 picks. So cornerbacks, and now we got to get a wide receiver to battle those corners. All right, Nino, you're on the clock for your New England Patriots.
All right, so we need a quarterback, but there's nothing really available, in my opinion. I don't think they would draft another one in the first round anyway. So I'm going to go with some defensive side of the ball. They could use an edge rusher. They could use a linebacker. I mean, an edge. Dedrick Wise has flashed a few good games for the Patriots, but they need to develop an edge presence so that, the DBs and safeties aren't covering wide receivers for 6 to 8 seconds every game. The Patriots could also use a young leader at the linebacker position because Judon's elite. How long can he stay elite for? I think Andre Carter would be a good fit for the Patriots, but it's still early, and he should be there because linebackers are like running backs in the NFL draft. There's a couple of good edge guys here. I like B.J. Ojolari from LSU, but I'm a big fan of this guy, and I think the Patriots are a good fit for him. I'm going to go with Felix and Duke Uzuma out of Kansas State, the edge, and I feel he's a day one starter for the Patriots and will help improve that defense day one.
I just wrote his first name. So if someone wants to go, Shane, if you want to get in there and yeah, there we go. Shane's got it. The anonymous liger. Thank you very much. All right, Joe Clark on the clock for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
All right, guys. So Buccaneers, I don't think, in my opinion, don't really have all that many holes. They can use some offensive line help. They could use some young talent at cornerback, probably use an edge rusher as well. They are getting older in some of those positions there. Still see them as a deep team, even though they're obviously having a down year. However, it is definitely, I think, in my opinion, time to start looking towards the future. And Tom Brady, he's just turned 87, and I have a great respect for Tom Brady. But I love the guy. He is the GOAT. No disrespect, but he's been around for a long time. And I don't know what's going on this year, but Buccaneers have a talented player here who's kind of staring them in the face, who can use some seasoning sitting on the bench for a year. I think before he's given the takes over the helm here. I think that would be an ideal situation if they can get one more year out of Brady if he actually doesn't retire after this year. And so I am going with, out of Florida, I'm going with quarterback Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson.
Yep.
So you think this Florida quarterback's better than the one they got on the roster already?
Kyle Trask.
What's that?
There ain't a prayer.
Yeah, I think he's better than
Richardson's
Trask.
better than Trask. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, bro. Have you seen him throw the ball? Neither.
Have you seen Trask run the ball?
I've seen Trask throw and run the ball as well, and I've never been all that impressed. His passes take like 20 yards, take like 20 minutes to complete.
Tell the wide receivers at Florida that right now.
I'm going with ceiling. Right now. He's not even close to the finished product.
Anthony Richardson,
you know what?
off the board.
You need to watch our show on Fridays. I'm here for you.
All right. Anthony Richardson's off the board. KT, we had to wait until the 20s to get you going, man. I don't know why the hell all your picks are between 20 and 31, but you're going to dominate the next 11 picks. So you're up right now. Washington Commanders, who we taking?
This was interesting. I was seeing how the cards were going to fall. Last time I went with Michael Mayer, just because I thought that, Washington used an upgrade at the position. And we've been seeing since our last draft that he's continued to dominate game after game. And he makes those wild plays every time. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm taking Michael Mayer again here.
All right. Boom. Quick, efficient, done.
Love
Michael Mayer off the board.
Mayor.
KT, you're back. Mayor, I'm sorry. Mayor. KT, you're back on the clock. Got to change your hat though. It's the Baltimore Ravens, not the Washington Commanders.
Yeah,
so who are we taking for the Ravens?
This is where it gets interesting because I don't really know how the Ravens are going to perceive the offseason. I see boomers down there writing something. Because I honestly don't know. Their cap is going to get interesting after this offseason. So there's a couple of places that we could go here. I would really like to say lineman. Wide receiver, they definitely need. Is there somebody that are we willing to take at this point? I'm not the biggest Keyshawn Boutte guy.
Yeah.
Hyatt is a reach. I think Zay Flowers is a reach, even though, we respect him. Rashee Rice is good as well. So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But I'm actually going to do something a little bit surprising here. We got two running backs. Let's look at this running back position. We got Bijan Robinson. We got Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm thinking about their system. I'm thinking about the fact they let to run the ball so daggone much. I don't think Lamar Jackson is ever going to develop within that scheme just because it's a run-dominated offense based on play action and quick pops. So go ahead. I'm going to take the Bijan Robinson at this pick right here.
Boom.
Love it.
Play like a Raven.
That's what's up.
Bang.
All right.
Bang.
Bijan going to the Ravens. Beautiful fit. Nino, you're on the clock for your division rival. You're picking for the Patriots and the Jets. I don't know how that worked out, man, but do something good.
I actually picked them. I wanted
All
the
right,
Jets.
all right.
All right. So a couple weeks ago when we did this, I was all about offensive linemen. I think they need offensive linemen in a hurry. So many injuries, so many guys they missed on. I was hoping. I didn't know that Jaord was going to take my guy to Indy. I was hoping that Will fell to the Jets because I feel like they're over and done with Zach Wilson. That time has passed. That ship has sailed. Mike White is for this year. No, White looks good, but is he the dude? He looked good last year and then hit the wall and crashed after like 5 games. So that's why Zach Wilson came back. I don't know if he's the dude, but Levis is off the board. So let's try to keep Mike White upright and safe. And I'm torn between two guys. I'm torn between Broderick Jones out of Georgia and Osiris Torrance out of Florida. But I'm going to go with Osiris Torrance out of Florida, and I think he'll help the Jets stir up those offensive line problems.
You had to take him from me and my Cowboys, huh? I picked him last time. You weren't going to let him fall to me.
Sir.
All right. So I see how
I'm a little rushy on Jones. I'm a little.
All right. So Torrance is a bulldozer. All right. So Brian's on the clock for the Cincinnati Bengals. Where are we going?
We're going to go best player available here. I think the Bengals have kind of settled in on their offensive line a little bit. It has played better. I think corner could be in play here if one of these guys that has already been taken falls to them because of the injury to Wuzier. I think they like the potential of Cam Taylor-Britt. He's kind of showed up the last couple of weeks. I don't like any of the interior defensive line prospects for what I think the Bengals will be looking for at this point in time. But we need to get some extra pass rush help, somebody who doesn't have to rush in here and contribute immediately with Hubbard and Hendrickson both, under contract for a few more years. But Joseph Osai hasn't taken off, I think, the way they anticipated. So let's get that third pass rusher here. Let's get Isaiah Foskey, the edge rusher from Notre Dame.
Stole him from my next pick.
All right. Joe Clark on the clock for the New York Giants.
Okay. Last time when I was drafting for the Giants, I did not take a wide receiver. And that's just not realistic. I do think there is talent here to be had. It's more of a matter for the Giants. It is going to be a wide receiver. That's the obvious biggest hole for my favorite team. There's not an obvious pick for me. However, I do have to settle on one. So there's a guy I'm going to like who I think is good at creating who's good with run after the catch. Giants need yak out of the wide receivers besides needing talent overall at wide receiver position. And so I'm going with Rashee Rice out of SMU.
All right, the wide receiver from SMU off the board. Shane on the clock for the Denver Broncos via San Francisco via Miami.
So the Broncos here, it's interesting because we need offense. The offense is abysmal, right?
I love timeout. I love the we like that we've all developed. We're really like trying to represent these organizations. I think we're all doing a fair job. It says a lot about our character that we're like for 5 minutes when we're picking, we're really invested in this organization. So I respect that. Go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you, Shane.
No, it's fine. Look, so that I think that's definitely the focus. Some offensive tackles available that have been mentioned that might be helpful. Receivers have been flying off the board, but I do think Tennessee's Jalen Hyatt will be a first-round pick when all said and done. He's still on the board. Maybe even Jahmyr Gibbs to pair with Javonte Williams. But there's a player we have rated as a top 10 player in this class that's here at 25. I can't pass on him. And it would help the defensive line, help the pass rush. So the Denver Broncos are going to take Myles Murphy, edge rusher out of Clemson, who should have been off the board about 15 picks ago.
He's been sleeping for the last 9 games.
Look, he's going to test out as potentially the best tested defender in this draft. Size, speed, his RAS score is going to be in the high 9s. That's going to boost him right back up, I think, for Clemson, and ultimately the versatility to be able to play on the line. I think in Denver's system can play a little bit of 5-tech, can stand up and play one of those outside linebacker positions. I think it works to replace what they've lost at pass rusher when Von Miller left.
Yeah, I'm a little in between on that. So I just wrote a paper for school on how the combine affects the draft so much. And we watched players like Orlando Brown drop in the draft to the 3rd round. He was easily a first-round draft pick. Look at his tape. His game tape is better than his workout. And that's why he dropped in the draft. And I think you're going to see the same thing here. You're going to see him test out and not play well because look at his game tape.
Well, I will say RAS score analytically, it does correlate to NFL success for every position except center. So if you do take that, it does correlate well. So when you take the holistic view, it is a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole thing for sure.
But I do love Myles Murphy. I'm with you. I think he should have drafted the top 10.
Yeah.
Nino on the clock, Tennessee Titans.
So I had a couple guys here lined up. They're off the board. Foskey and Branch are going. So for the Titans, I'm looking. I see Jeffrey Simmons is the only sure thing on the defensive line with aging weapons on the offense. A stout defense is key for the Titans, right? Foskey would have wreaked havoc there. Also in the secondary, Kevin Byron is getting older, and Amani Hooker isn't elite. A guy like Brian Branch, who played the star position, would have been a key role for the Titans. He's off the board. Defense is gone. I've alluded to this many times. KT on CFB Nation. Playmaker on the offensive side would help take the pressure off of Treylon Burks. And I think this gentleman is a perfect complement to Treylon Burks in that game. And I'm going to go with Josh Downs, wide receiver out of North Carolina.
All right, Josh Downs.
I feel like Treylon Burks is the big man. Go up and get the ball. Josh Downs spreads the field, whether it be Tannehill, Willis. I feel Josh Downs is the perfect fit for the Titans.
All right, Josh Downs is gone. I'm on the clock for the Dallas Cowboys. So Osiris Torrance, interested. All right. That's where I was looking to go. Now, after seeing some of these, I like Rashee Rice, SMU. Man, I had like pick 3 and pick 4. I had my 3rd and 4th option. One of them was Jarrett Patterson, who I got from Shane. I'm looking for, I could see the Cowboys going with the center. He's center out of Notre Dame, best available. He was 3rd team All-American in 2021. I saw he never allowed a sack in his entire career. That being said, that's not the direction I'm going, but that is somebody I was considering. I'm actually going JL Skinner, safety, Boise State, 6'4", 218 pounds. Jaron Curse right now, the dude's a cog. Like, big part of the Cowboys defense. He's the heart and soul, but he's been banged up this year. Donovan Wilson's been playing a lot better than I think they expected him to play. Malik Hooker, he's been playing pretty well. If they let Jaron Kearse go, they signed him to a 2-year deal. If they let him go, they'll save $5 million off the cap next year. And then this cat, man, he just fits into everything I think that Dan Quinn wants in a defensive back. Again, 6'4", 218 pounds. And for a big, lean dude, he packs a punch, man. Like, this dude is a hammer. He's rangy. Like, when I saw his frame, I didn't think he'd be as rangy as he was. I thought he'd be put in a box and kind of just be coming straight downhill. But he can get sideline to sideline. And also what they have Kearse do a lot is run with tight ends. And he eliminates a lot of tight ends. I think this guy can do it too. So give me JL Skinner out of Boise State. And KT, you're on the clock with the Buffalo Bills.
All right, I have quite a few thought processes for my Buffalo Bills. The first thought process is I'm not really liking the production that we're getting at wide receiver outside of Stephon Diggs. That's the first thought. Y'all know last draft I went with Jalen Hyatt. Also, I'm thinking that we can use help at that 3 technique at the defensive tackle. Ed Oliver needs help. But when I really look at the Bills, I look at the secondary and how injury-ridden this team has been all season. You think about Tre'Davious White, you think about Micah Hyde, he's out for the season. Jordan Poyer, he's been hurt on and off. So you have to go safety because when Hyde and Poyer are playing, they're phenomenal. But let's not forget, both of them are getting up in age. So we're going to go with Antonio Johnson, Texas A&M. I definitely thought Jahmyr Gibbs here, but you got to make the safe play and go with Antonio Johnson.
All right. Antonio Johnson, safety, Texas A&M off the board. George Reed's on the clock, but George, your pick has been forfeited because you're a cheater. So you don't get to select. The Miami Dolphins, they don't get to select here. All right, Shane, you're on the clock. Pick number 29 for the Minnesota Vikings.
I think the board's falling well for the Vikings. Ultimately, there's a lot of good kind of defensive front 7 players left that we mentioned before. Drew Sanders, the linebacker from Arkansas. Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State. Still some of the pure linebackers like Trenton Simpson, Noah Sewell are out there. But ultimately, I think the Vikings do need an offensive playmaker to stretch the field. As Adam Thielen's getting older, we know how good Justin Jefferson is. Adding TJ Hawkinson, there's no one that really takes the top off this defense. So I'm going to select Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver out of Tennessee here. You finally get someone into that scheme, that old Rams scheme that can get up the field. I think that's key for O'Connell, and I think they're going to be able to use Hyatt pretty well to open things underneath for Thielen and Justin Jefferson.
JJ and Hyatt,
Bruh.
That's
You already got to double this man, Justin Jefferson, and then you got the speed element of Hyatt. Like, that's
and
crazy.
TJ there. TJ taking all the guys low. Wow.
Kirk Cousins on his stock trending upward. All right, Jared, you're on the clock. Kansas City Chiefs.
I've been so iffy on this one, but my man KT below me just took my guy because I just don't think Juan Thornhill is, the guy long term. And I really love Johnson, but because, we're at this point and I can't get the safety I want, I still got to go best player available. I'm a little older than I want to be on defensive end. And BJ Ojulari is available, and I cannot pass him up right now. So BJ Ojulari is the pick.
All right, LSU, go Tigers. All right, for the last selection in the draft, the Philadelphia Eagles. Nino, where we going?
So I was hoping to get a cornerback here, defensive back, and someone who could shear up that secondary, lock them down. Because, the Eagles need to stay on top. They face a lot of wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb, McLaurin, now Wan'Dale Robinson, Jahan Dotson, possibly OBJ. Whether he goes to the Giants or the Cowboys, we'll see. So I was going to go that way. The best guy on the board right now is Clark Phillips. I don't know if he's a first-round pick for me. They could go linebacker here, maybe gentleman out of Clemson. I went early last draft and took Bijan at running back. But there's a gentleman that's neon signing up for me that I think fits well with Hurts and what they got there. So I'm going to take a running back because I don't know what Miles Sanders is going to be next year. And I'm going to go with Jahmyr Gibbs here. And I feel like it's a home run hit for the Eagles at running back. Jahmyr Gibbs is off the board.
Man, the rich get richer. Again, Jahmyr Gibbs off the board. Philadelphia Eagles, the first round has been wrapped up. So now we all have to sit on this and we have to decide where we're going with the second round. But the second round probably ain't coming till we do our mocks a few months from now. So that actually is not going to happen. But everybody take a look at this mock draft and let me know, Shane, who do you think who do you think missed out in the first round that should have been taken? Is there a player or two that you don't see there that you think should have been taken in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I think Drew Sanders from Arkansas is going to be a first-round pick. His production this year was just insane. I think he'll end up going there. And then, outside of that, I'd probably go with Trenton Simpson, that, like Nino just mentioned, from Clemson, I think could sneak in there. Those are probably the two most glaring omissions from the draft.
Excellent. Anybody else got any names that they don't see there that they expect come April is going to be picked in the first round?
If
Tyree Wilson
from Texas Tech.
Tyree Wilson's a good one.
Yeah.
I think Andre Carter could sneak in there if linebackers become hot because he's an edge linebacker hybrid guy. So Andre Carter could sneak into the first round depending on what positions to go on a run.
How crazy is that we brought up Andre Carter, 3 months ago about being a service guy to get drafted in the first round?
Insane, right?
Insane.
Mm-hmm.
The dog, though.
There's a player I can see sneaking into the who I really like a lot. I've liked a lot for a while. I took him in I think I took him for the Giants in our first draft, and that's a linebacker, Noah Sewell out of Oregon. I like him a lot. Physical and fast inside linebacker. I can see him being a linebacker going in the back end of the first round.
All right, I love it. We'll have to wait and
Coach,
see. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, last year, you remember we saw the run on wide receivers that happened? Drake London, Garrett Wilson, it just Burks. It was a lot in that let's say it was Drake London when at pick 8, if I'm not mistaken. And then in the 11, 12, 13, 14 range, Olave, all of that.
Jameson Williams.
It seems like this year on this draft board, it's the reverse where we have corners going like that, where Christian Gonzalez went 9. We had with a DB, technically, with Jacksonville, Brian Branch, Joey Porter to the Lions, Keely Ringo to the Falcons, Cam Smith, Seattle. So that's something that stands out to me in the draft. Like, it's kind of flip-flop.
And that it has, and that is interesting too. And then also, the NFL, like, it shifts, it's pass heavy, and we're starting to notice there's a lot of teams that are committing to the run right now. A lot of teams are committing to the run. Like, we've seen wide receivers come into the NFL and prosper day one, and now we're seeing these corners go, but we're also seeing some teams are starting to shift, and we're starting to see old school, run the football. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not surprised and by it at all, because I think most modern defenses are built now to stop the pass.
Right.
And that's why it only makes sense to me that
they're thinning out.
Yeah, and especially if you can't, there's only so many wide receivers to go around anyway. But
man, they fall off trees. Wide receivers, the last 3 or 4 drafts have like stud wide receivers are just falling off trees.
Right.
But no,
if you get that consistent running game, strong running game, you're keeping the ball away from those other offenses. So I'm not surprised by this. I think it's kind of like about time.
Eagles have AJ Brown, and he's only got 1 or 2 games this year where he's gone over 100 yards. He's topping out at like 60 yards a game. They're running the football like man, and it's working for them. Their offensive line is just mauling people. Yeah,
man.
Well,
absolutely.
Does anybody have any thoughts before we wrap this thing up? Anything else? Go ahead, Jared.
Did we bring up Jared Verse? Was he drafted?
He was not, but yeah, he definitely is in the conversation there.
That out of Florida State, he's just a really great. I mean, I think he's has really high motor. He could be a Brian Burns guy, and I get he's from Florida State, but I liked him better than Johnson, who was drafted in the first round. So I don't know. He's a name that I'll be looking for sure.
All right. And again, this is the second time we've done this mock. We did one episode 150. This is episode number 155. We'll chat after this, and hopefully I can get you all back here, maybe a month from now in January. We'll do our third, and then maybe we'll just do maybe a half-hour episode at some time comparing the three, and seeing what's evolved, how it's changed and whatnot. But I do appreciate it. I know we're all busy,
Good
man,
idea.
especially right now. It's the holiday season, so everybody, we're working extra hard. We got family stuff going on. So for all you, taking the time out right now to come on the show, I really appreciate it. So Shane at Shane P. Hallam on the Twitter, excuse me. Brian is at Deep Fried Draft on the Twitter. Felix, who had to dip, he's at Sharp Review on the Twitter. KT is at Leverett_KT. Moon is at FF_Moon Vibes. Jared's at Jared Gray on the Twitter. Joe is at JoJ_Clark. Nino, I think it's at Nino Brown _T2T. He just dipped, and I'm on the Twitter at Coach Sheps. Check out the show at Toilets and Titles. And again, if you're on the YouTube, if you're already checking out the show, throw some subscribe. We're donating $2 for every subscriber we pick up from now until December 25th to the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. So I hope you enjoy the show, and everybody stay safe. Happy holidays. We'll catch you all